All right, the co-main event of this show was Isaac Cruz against Rolly Romero. Rolly came into the fight as the WBA 140-pound title holder, but I think a lot of people expected Isaac Cruz to, walk through him, and that's exactly what Isaac Cruz did. Just, kept relentless pressure up, almost had him knocked out in the first round. I mean, the fact that Rolly didn't go down in that first round was a credit to him, but eventually got him out of there early in the 8th round. Rolly sounded like he was concussed badly after the fight in that post-fight interview. My question for you, Corey, is about Cruz. Did we see a star turn right here for Isaac Cruz, who got a lot of credit for how he fought against Gervonta Davis a couple of years ago? Now he moves up to 140 pounds. He wins a world title in his first fight in that weight class. He had a lot of fans in that building. When I was watching that broadcast back, I would argue that Isaac Cruz should have been the headliner there. Isaac Cruz brought the majority of the fans. There was definitely a bit of a letdown when the main event started with Tszyu and Fundora. Those fans were there to watch Isaac Cruz, a lot of them. Did we see a star-turning performance from Isaac Cruz?
Yeah, or maybe we just didn't know how big of a star he was because those fans, like you said, that they were there for him. But I think that I had the same reaction when I was watching his ring entrance. I texted my friend Morgan Campbell, and I was like, is it just me, or is the crowd absolutely deafening for Isaac Cruz right now? He got a reaction that you seldom hear, I mean, for any fighter, but let alone a fighter that isn't in the main event that night. And it's interesting. I think that Cruz is in a good position now in that weight class, in that weight neighborhood, because he seems to represent kind of the antithesis of the other characters around him, like the Rollies and the Garcias and the Haneys, these guys that have, big personalities, big social media presences. They fight with a little more flair. Here's Isaac Cruz, who fights in one direction, has no frills whatsoever, and fights with sheer aggression. And watching that fight, I can't remember an example of a fighter fighting with more disrespect or disdain for his opponent than Isaac Cruz did in that fight. He was fighting like someone who legitimately hated his opponent and who legitimately believed that his opponent had absolutely nothing that could bother him, and he turned out to be right. And that created a very interesting atmosphere too. I think that was a part of it. I think that, number one, people seem to really love Isaac Cruz. People also really hate Rolly Romero. So it was the perfect combination of two fighters in there that complement one another. It's pro wrestling, right? I mean, the good heel helps the good baby face, and that's exactly what we saw there. And I think that only elevates Cruz and now puts him in a power position with that title and with another win under his belt.
Yeah, and I don't want to pigpile Rolly Romero, but he is a great character who is a bad fighter. He just is. He's got a good record, but that record has been built very controversially. Right? He should have lost that fight to Jackson Marinez, before he fought Gervonta Davis. He was okay against Gervonta. I don't think he was rounds against him, but then he ultimately got knocked out badly. In his next fight, he got a gift of a decision by Tony Weeks that awarded him a world title he didn't really earn. Anyone that thought Rolly was going to win this fight doesn't watch enough Isaac Cruz, and certainly doesn't watch enough Rolly Romero. Isaac Cruz is not a brutal one-punch knockout guy, but he is a relentless pressure fighter that can crack with both hands. So this fight played out probably exactly like most people that understand it expected to play out. They expected him to walk Rolly down and eventually get to him. And that's exactly what happened. I'd look, Isaac Cruz now just opened up a big door for himself, right? Because now he's got a belt at 140, a legitimate belt there. Now we'll see what the WBA orders next. If they are acting with integrity, they will order Ishmael Barroso to face Isaac Cruz, because Ishmael Barroso has earned it, right? He got screwed against Romero. He responded by wiping out O'Hara Davies in one round in what was supposed to be a title eliminator. By all rights, that shot at that belt belongs to Ishmael Barroso. But having a title at 140, having a fan base behind you, and having a history with Gervonta Davis makes Isaac Cruz a perfect second half of the year opponent for Gervonta, because that rematch got a lot more interesting based on what Isaac Cruz did in that fight with Romero and the crowd that came to support him. Like, I didn't have a huge amount of interest, Corey, in the rematch over the last couple of years while Cruz was campaigning for it. I thought he fought well, and I think I even scored it a draw, his fight with Gervonta, but it wasn't some great fight that I desperately needed to see one more time. Now that Cruz has a belt at 140, and now that he's bringing his own fan base to the table, that's a fight that does a massive gate in Las Vegas. It is a legitimate world title fight. So my hope is that Cruz gives Barroso an opportunity to fight sometime this summer, and then end of the year, maybe December, you get a Gervonta Cruz matchup that would be a pretty compelling fight both at the box office and when it comes to pay-per-view.
Yeah, and that fight is extremely compelling now, but I think that looking back and again, looking at the crowd that turned out for Isaac Cruz in this fight, I mean, people were making noise for that rematch all along. And I think I was in the same boat as you, Chris. It wasn't top of mind for me. I wasn't clamoring for that rematch. I know that Isaac Cruz fought well. I also understood the realities of Gervonta fighting with one hand in that fight as well. But I think, you know, Cruz obviously has a style and a personality that connects with the fan base. People love this guy. And in particular, he has the type of style that just it's simplistic enough that it connects with everyone. Everyone loves this pressure fighter because they think that pressure will be the antidote for everything. You know, all throughout Floyd Mayweather's career, what did we hear? Well, you got to pressure him. You got to, no one ever pressures this guy. No one ever walks him down. You know, when Isaac Cruz is in the fight, it's precisely what he's going to do. So in that respect, he gives the fans exactly what they're asking for. They have a game plan in mind, and he's going to go out there and try it, and it either works or it doesn't. Like, he's the perfect fan favorite fighter. And you're right. After there was already clearly a lot of people that wanted to see that rematch. Now I think there's a really damn good reason to see it.